Hello again, people. You guys can hear me okay?
Yes, sir, hearing you.
All right. Uh, right. Okay, so I was leaving a message there telling you guys that you should go ahead and select your pictures. I see some people doing it, but not everyone. So hopefully I'm going to give you, what time is it now? Well, we don't want to be here very long. The classes don't really have to last 4 hours. So I'm going to give you guys just about 15 more minutes, because you would need the images to kind of go through the class today. I see most of you pick out images. That's good. Is there anybody still picking out images? It look like you're basically done.
So I'm still picking.
All right, so I'm gonna, so look like this, about 10 more minutes. It's now what? It's now 2:20, so that would take us to 2:30. So see if you guys can pick out the images, and while we do that, I might look on some of these images to see what we can do with them. So let me give you a little bit more time. All right. I hope you all got a drink of water, made a sandwich, got some food. All right. Let me give you a couple more minutes. right, guys. So I think that's about enough time. Hopefully, all of us got through that activity. All right. All right. So we're going to be moving forward. One sec. Here it is. All right. Okay, so I'll be looking at some of your images. Some of them looks really nice. Is there anybody here that chose a technique to accomplish that they're worried about? Like they're saying, like you might be saying, I don't have any idea how I'm going to accomplish this. But you like it, so you still choose it?
Yes, sir. I have some idea, but I'm just not sure.
Oh, Theodore.
Dante.
What are you saying about yours?
For my 3D highlight, I figured I could just export
Dante.
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I figured like after I put everything in SketchUp, I could do a render in black and white, and then I could export that same view in DWG to get the line work. But really, I'm just worried about adding the textures, because it's kind of like a drawn texture on the floor and so. So I'm wondering how I'm going to do that.
Okay, cool. All right. Oh, by the way, guys, for your X-ray, sorry, for your perspective, the main objective, or let me not say. Let me see if you guys know. Who can volunteer? What is the communication objective of the 3D perspective? Anybody? Nobody?
I think it could be more than one thing. It could, maybe you want to show your green spaces, maybe you want to show circulation, vehicular traffic, site analysis. It could show more than one thing.
I think it is basically a 3D perspective is basically showing how humans interact with any space you create.
Okay. All right. Both of your answers are incorrect. Anybody else? What's the communication objective of the perspective? The perspective challenge. Say again?
To show context.
No, that's an incomplete answer.
So I think it's the structure is supposed to be the only one that is highlighted within this area.
Okay, you have the warmest answer, meaning that you're closest to the answer. Anybody else? Come on, guys.
It highlights the building of focus within the context.
All right, Horace, you are the closest. You edge just above Tara in terms of your answer. So before I even say anything, I am just going to find my way over to the where is it? Is that I have too much stuff open here? Here it is. Right. I'm gonna find my way over to the computing module. And I'm gonna go right down to the handout. Right? And I'm going to, let me connect on my, right. So let me zoom in to the, let me make this full screen. If you go on the site, you can just click this button here and it becomes full screen. And let me zoom in. There we go. All right. Hold on a second. All right. So if I take a look on the handout, let me zoom out a little bit. For challenge 3, which is the highlighted objective, right? So that is an external 3D perspective. And this says that in this challenge, you are to select a 3D perspective image to mimic. The 3D perspective must highlight an objective amongst a dense visual context, right? So let's head over back to the mirror board here. Joel, are you here?
Yes, sir.
All right. Does this image highlight an objective amongst a dense visual context?
No, sir.
All
So I
right.
should have provided a secondary thing for it, right?
No, you don't have to. Because when you look on the handout, it also says that what you need to achieve, because remember, guys, hold on, let me just make sure that we're not getting confused. Like on the handout, where's my thingy? Bob. Here you are. Right. It's not working. Come on. Right, there we go. Right. So on the handout, all of this section here is for the perspective, right? So everything in this section here is the instruction for the perspective, right? And likewise, everything in the blue is the instruction for the section and so forth and so forth. So what this is saying is that for your communication objective, you must successfully distinguish an object, building, or element by mimicking the technique used. There is no need to submit a separate communication objective for this challenge, as the technique should contain the objective natively. So what does that mean? Well, let's look on the example on the handout. On the handout, this image that is here, you can clearly see that this building is highlighted amongst a dense visual context, and that in itself is the communication objective. So you wouldn't need to submit another image to mimic for the communication objective. All right, are you guys following me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I hear one person following me, or was that representative of the rest of the class?
Yes.
So
I'm following, sir.
all right. So for example, Dante, this is a nice image and everything, and it is a perspective. Hang on, UTech is giving me a call here. Hold on. All right, take care. Yeah. Hey guys, sorry about that. The office reached out to me many times. All right. So I was saying Dante. So this image is a nice image. Is it highlighting this building? I would say that maybe you're like in the gray zone. But I guess you could see let me get some other opinions. Anybody else? What do you think? Is this being highlighted amongst the context? Anybody else have an opinion on Dante's image?
Yes, sir. I think it's being
I would say
highlighted,
yes.
but because the shadow is so close to the gray, it's kind of blending in a sense.
Yeah, it's highlighted, but it doesn't stand out.
All right. So, well, Dante, because it seems like you really like this technique, I do see a highlight, but it don't like pop. But it's okay. I will allow that one to go through. So you wouldn't need a communication objective because the objective is for it to highlight. Unless maybe you want to highlight it a different way with a different style, then okay, you would have one. But yeah. All right. So I see some other persons here, and yeah, okay. And seeing some lovely images. All right. So same thing again for for instance, Lewis, you wouldn't need a communication object. Well, unless it is that you had planned to use this method to highlight this building, but pretty much the building itself, the image itself shows the building highlighted. All right. You got that, Lewis? Kishani, are you there? Let me make sure I have up my message. There you go. Okay. All right. I see Miss Tara had stepped out. All right, cool. Now I'm going to go through everybody's image in just a bit, but I want to move on with the lesson for today. And also just a quick reminder. Let me see on the class website here. Oh crap, how do I go back? Anybody remember the shortcut to go back in Chrome? What's the shortcut to go back again? Nobody knows?
I'm serious, normally a two-finger swipe to the left.
But I have a mouse. Alt left mouse.
So your mouse middle wheel,
I think it's
tell the middle wheel, sir, like flick it to the left.
nah. All right, fine. I'll just no, that one not working. And anyway, all right. Because I use in this Chrome where I don't have the back buttons. So that it's bigger. So I have to go to the website again, which is a real pain. There we go. Where did it go now? Okay, here it is over here. All right.
Sir, I think the scroll wheel can do it, you know. The scroll wheel has an X function, depending on the mouse I have.
Right. I think I repurposed the back and front buttons to switch between something else. So my bad. All right, but nonetheless, it's just a click away. See, I'm back on the site again. What was I saying now? Right. I wanted to remind everyone that the class presentations is gonna be assignment 1 presentation, right? The presentation is gonna be where's the date not showing? Because it's too big for this segment here. But anyway, it is going to be on September 27th, guys. So the morning session and the evening session will be dedicated to present your final images. All right. All right, guys. So
Yes, sir.
that is your 30%. But guess what? I have some good news for you. Let me just try and locate this. Assignment 1 overview. Here we go. Duplicate that and dig it up and slideshow. There we go. All right. All right. Now I want you guys to listen carefully because this is we're talking about your 30% here, right? And this is how we're going to do it. Sorry, this thing is in my... There we go. Yeah. Right. So this is how we're going to do it. All right. All right. So listen carefully. Now the presentation, your 30% is going to be delivered in this method. You will have a presentation, which is going to be on the 27th. And that presentation is going to be graded, right? Now, in total, your total grade amounts to 30%, of course. This is your assignment grade, right? However, the presentation will take a portion out of the 30. I think it's on the handout. I think it's what, 10%? I vary it every year depending on what's happening. Now, your presentation grade, if you show up for the presentation, you present accordingly, then you will collect your percentage grade. Now, the rest of the 30% will come from the actual submission of your mimic images, right? And when I say submission, I mean like you actually submit your images to me on the handout. The presentation is not a submission. The presentation is, I'm in class now, you bring up your mirror board and you say, okay, sir, these are my 4 images. This is my floor plan image. This is my workflow. And we talk about it for maybe 2 minutes. And then you get a presentation grade right then on the spot. All right. Now, you haven't handed in your assignment yet. All you've done is just present. So naturally, you will get your presentation grade. Now, when you get the feedback, if you are 100% comfortable, then you can just literally submit your work right then and there. But I usually give a little longer for you to hand in the work, because there are some persons that, let's say that you choose a technique that, well, you're struggling because you have to use this program and you never really use it yet, and well, you still have a little bit more time where you can, whatever the comments were, you have a little bit more time that you can fix up before you submit the work. All right. So in essence, you have two deadlines. This you will present to me on the 27th, and this deadline is to be announced, because usually I check in with your design studio to make sure that it's not around the time you have something major, all right? So that it's easier on you guys, all right? So this is key. Now notice what this says, right? For the presentation, your grade cannot be improved after the presentation, right? So that would mean that if your presentation is worth 10% and you score 6% out of that, then that is your presentation grade, right? Now, the reason why I say your handing work can be improved after presentation is because, let's say that if you had submitted your work to me, if you present and submit your work to me, maybe out of this, let's see here, it's 20% and 10%, right? Maybe out of this 20%, you would have only gotten like, I don't know, like 10%. If you had submitted your work then and there, right? Of course, one would hope that you would say, oh no, because my work is not up to scratch, so I'm not going to submit it now. I'm going to work on it and submit it later. Well, you have the ability to do that before you hand in. But in order for you to get the presentation grade, you have to actually present, right? All right, so this is important. So do you guys understand this breakdown?
Yes, sir, understood.
All right.
Yes, sir. Question though, I see mimic lighting. Under mimic lighting, it says shadow sharpness. If your image calls for soft shadows, would that like be an issue?
Okay, I'm going into the criteria now. I'm just verifying what the presentation grade is. 8 and 8, 16 and 4, 20. Okay. All right. So out of 100, okay, right. So it don't exactly work out like this. Out of 100%, the presentation is worth 20. And the handing is worth 80. Yeah, that's the latest one on it. Let's check this. Yes, so
then
that
it's
is confirmed.
24% and 6%.
Right. So that's why I say it never really work out like 10 and 30. So this is how it works out, right? Because we're grading out of 100 for this assignment. But of course, you know that this assignment is worth 30% of your grade. All right. So just think of it this way for simplicity. So everything here will be graded out of 80%. Now, think of it this way. When you present your work, right? It's almost like saying in your presentation, all of this will be graded, right? So when you come and present on the 27th, right? I'm going to look at your workflow diagram. I'm going to see how you explained your process to see if, how well you understood what you did. Identifying your visualization features. This we're going to do today, so I'm going to teach you how to do that. Then I'm actually going to grade the work that you have presented to me. So I'm going to look at your communication objective, and I'm going to look at your technique, lighting and shadow, your technique, color and tone, your entourage and context, and your scale and angle, right? So literally, if you present to me work that is not, let's just say you didn't complete like the section, right? But you came to the presentation, I am still going to grade what I see there, but I'm still going to look at all of these things, right? However, it is only the grade that I give you for these things that will stick. You get me? Cool?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, it is up to you. The grade for these things here are optional, right? You can choose to work on them later. And I will show you how to do that on the form when you're submitting. But you don't have to do any submissions. So if you don't come to the presentation, then by default, you just forfeit 20% of your grade. So even if you're not done, remember what I'm grading in the presentation is your workflow diagram, your understanding of what you're doing. Like when you explain to me, well, I chose to use Revit to do this, and I say, but why? And you say, well, I wanted to do a 3D animation with thunderclouds in Revit. And I would say, well, why would you use Revit to do a 3D animation with thunderclouds? Why not use Twinmotion? And so your understanding of the use of the software, that's what I'm grading for there, based on
So,
what.
sir, question.
Yeah.
What do you think the better approach would be? To plan how you want to achieve the image and then create the workflow diagram, or try to achieve the image and then create the workflow diagram?
I'm glad you asked that question. And you're going to get your answer in a couple minutes. All right? I'm going to show you the process by which you can use to achieve your image. All right? But before I do that, I just want to tell you guys what the arrangement is for this assignment, right? And you understand how it works. So is there any question based on how the assignment works before I go into this whole thing of how do you do these things?
Awesome.
All right. Hopefully everybody understand it clear. So please come to the presentation. And let me tell you something, guys. One of the most valuable things that happens at this presentation is somebody shows an image and shows a workflow and says, this is how I achieve this. And then the persons in the audience, you guys will say, wow, I didn't know that Revit could do that, or I didn't know that Photoshop could do that. Every year, I know I learn something new from you guys. Because when we are presenting, we show our workflow diagram. So it is a big pool of the sharing information about visualization. And you might present something and somebody else might say, but why did you use Lumion? Because Twinmotion has this feature that does blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. So it's an exchange of information. And that is the real benefit of the presentation, right? Because when we are in the presentation, everybody shows how they achieve the image. And if you are not completely done and you're only halfway through, well, it's still valuable for you to come and show us like the progress. Like, it could be that you didn't finish the last part of it, but remember, I'm grading for what? Workflow diagram, your understanding of the process, and how well you identify the visualization features. All right, so those can be graded even if you are not completely done. But naturally, the more complete you are at this stage, likely the higher marks you will get. But I know CSA has a history of, look, if I'm not going to mash up the place with my presentation, I'm not going to show up. Very bad choice, right? Even if you're not done, you show up because you can still learn, and you will still get a grade if you at least have something to show. Remember, you can fix up this 80% You will have about a week or two additional to fix this up. All right. And you get feedback from the presentation. So that's the best thing. Now, some persons will hit the jackpot. Some persons will present and their image is fine. And usually about 50 to 60% of students, when they present the work, the ones that finish all of their techniques, most persons, like, yes, you get feedback, but it's not things that you would necessarily go back and change, right? So let's say that somebody presented something and they say, well, I use V-Ray to do this. And out of the presentation, we say, boy, maybe it would have been better you use, I don't know, twin motion for whatever reason. But it's not like you're going to, most people don't go back and redo the whole assignment to use twin motion. And it's not like that would change your grade in a major way. So it wouldn't necessarily be worth it. So a lot of people, after they present, they just submit their work and they're done with assignment 1, right? Usually the persons who will work after the presentation are maybe the ones that maybe you didn't finish all of your work, or maybe you did it in a way that was just totally wasn't working. There are people who got on a path and then realize that this is not working, and that you really have to start over because the end result not looking nothing close to the image you selected. So those are the reasons why some persons might not want to submit on the day. But usually when you present and you present all of your pictures, normally you just submit and then you're done. All right, so I'm just giving you some context so you guys understand what's happening. All right. Okay, so we can finally get into today's lesson. And who was it? Was it Buchanan? You were asking me, how do you know to do the workflow diagram first, or questions like that?
Yes, sir.
Right. All right, let me, why is my mouse not showing for some reason? Anyway, there we go. Oh, great. Hold on a second. I need to go to, there we go. All right, so let's go to slideshow, to go to setup and choose window and present. Okay, you guys can see the screen just fine, I hope.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is right. I want to talk to you about the architectural skill set. And there's a really great video that's here. You guys can watch it at a later time. But there are some extracts that I took that I want to show you guys here. See if I can make it bigger for you. Right. Okay, so in general, as a architecture professional, these are like the main categories that one would consider your skill set divided into, right? So there is modeling, computation, BIM. Everybody knows what BIM is. Of course, you did BIM last year, of course. There is visualization, there is graphics, and there is immersion. So what are these things? Well, modeling is like using SketchUp or using Maya or using 3ds Max or using Blender or Cinema 4D. Notice that Revit is not under the modeling section, right? And that is because modeling in terms of the general purpose, the general name is really being able to manipulate polygons, right? Now that is very different from building information modeling. Building information modeling is a type of modeling, is a way of modeling. And usually that type of modeling, you have to use programs like Revit or ArchiCAD or AutoCAD-ish to do that type of modeling, right? So that is another category. Computation, now this is one we don't do a lot of in CSA, right? I guess you guys perhaps, let me see. Have you guys ever used plugins in SketchUp? Anybody here that use plugins in SketchUp? Right.
Yes, sir.
So computations are like scripts. They are little macro programs that run under a program to give you further flexibility. And every program has this, right? As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago, I worked with a friend that there are people who specialize in BIM computation. What does that mean? That means that for those of you use Revit and you want the wall tool to do something, and maybe you want the wall tool to do something different that the program doesn't allow you to do. So having the knowledge of computation, meaning programming and scripting, you can go into the program and modify what the program can do, right? And a lot of firms out there, you know, the general Revit is not good enough because they have a particular way of doing things. So they will have persons that are competent in using Grasshopper, Dynamo, Rhino Inside, Python. Anybody recognize this one? Python?
Yes, sir.
Right. So these are all scripting languages. So those plugins that you use in SketchUp, they are really made from programmers that create those plugins because the program couldn't do those actions before, right? So this is actually an area under the field of architecture that you have some people specializing in, especially overseas when you have large firms. Locally here, we don't tend to mess with the programs too much. But definitely visualization is one that all architecture visualizer professionals need to know. And this is going from V-Ray to Enscape to Twinmotion to Lumion to Octane. There's D5 Renderer, there's Chaos Cloud or something. I don't remember the name of it, right? But so most of us will be pretty competent in doing visualization, right? And then there is graphics, right? Everybody remember DDM? So we're talking about Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, you know, the holy trinity, so to speak. But there is also Premiere Pro and After Effects, right? And there's others out there like DaVinci Resolve, and all of these comes under graphics, right? So these are like the four areas, the main areas. The last one this is the one I am looking to go into now, is having to do with real-time rendering technology, right? Anybody ever heard of Unreal Engine? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Right. So what you have nowadays is that, and we'll look into this next year when I see you for Advanced Computing 2, right? But this is more the future of where the industry is heading, right? Most people aren't rendering videos anymore. You know, videos, thing of the past. People are building experiences that you have control over, right? So we will we'll touch a little bit on that in Advanced Computing too. But these are pretty much the main areas. And I want you to take a look on this chart here, right? And this represents how much you know typically about a software. So for example, when you guys start to put in a resume to go somewhere and they say, okay, how are you in Revit? Are you basic, intermediate, advanced, or expert? You can kind of use this chart to guide how much you know, right? So usually an expert is somebody who are capable of teaching it to somebody else, right? And advanced mean you have no less than 3 to 5 years. You used it in practice, multiple projects. So you can actually go through this. This is a great guide because in this module we're going to be dealing with software, right? And you can use this to gauge the level at which you want to be and what software you want to use. Now, one of the first things that I want to demystify for you guys is that okay, here we go. In architecture, in particular, it's not necessarily about the software. And that is the break that I want you to have from a mental perspective. So for example, I know that over the last 3 years, you guys have been learning software. You've been learning Revit and Lumion, Twinmotion. We went through DDM. We were learning about we learned about Photoshop and those kind of things. But now that you are here in 4th year, I want you to disconnect yourself from the actual software. And I want you to think of software in these 6 categories, right? So just like how we have 6 senses, right? Or I guess some would say we have 6 senses, but these 6 categories are the main categories you need to provide to create visualization in architecture, right? So it's not about, oh, I know Lumion, so I can create visualization. Or I know 3ds Max, so I can create visualization. It's not about being an expert in Revit, so I can create visualization. No, I want you to think of it that there are 6 categories for architectural visualization. There is image editing, vector editing, there is simple and complex modeling, there is architecture related tools, and there is photorealistic rendering, right? Now, programs that exist usually fall in one or more of these categories, right? So when you take it from that perspective, it's no longer, oh, I don't know how to use Illustrator, right? It becomes more of, what program do I have to do vector editing? What program do I have under my belt to do complex modeling? What program do I have to do photorealistic rendering, right? And what you want to do is you want to arm yourself with a program that fits under one of these categories. All right? You guys hearing me? You want to arm yourself with a program that fits under one of these categories. All right? Photoshop is not the only image editing program out there, and it's so there is anybody use Procreate?
Yes, sir.
Right. So there are others, but it's not really about Procreate or about Photoshop or about Illustrator. Procreate is a image editing. Well, it's kind of closer to painting, but it's still manipulating pixels, right? You need a program to manipulate pixels, and you need a program to manipulate vector. And that is really what it comes down to. Now, the reason that we're starting here is because this will help us to kind of break down. So when we can break down, for example, when we look at Dwyer's 3D section, and we start to ask ourselves, okay, what program can we use to get this done, right? And when you're asking yourself these questions, there is a 5-step process that I want you to consider. Each and every one of us, before we create the visualization that we have here, there is a 5-step process that I want you guys to consider that will help you to determine how in the world do I create this image, right? Don't start from the software. Don't start with, I know to use Revit, so how can I use Revit to get this image? It's not about that, right? It's not about that. Don't start from the software. Remember, we have now broken the link from the software. So it's no longer about Revit or Photoshop. It's now about what features does this image have? And the features that it have will determine the category of program that I need to use. All right. So I'm going to give you an example of that. There we go. All right, so this is a 5-step process that I'm going to be recommending to you guys to follow, right? All right, now the first step, determine a global categorization, a visualization global categorization, right? Sorry, I know that it's big words, but all we're trying to determine is this image that I'm looking at. Is it under realism? Is it photorealistic? Is it diagrammatic? Or is it hybrid? What do I mean by hybrid?
It could be both. Like you have photorealistic textures, but you have vectors showing diagrams and so on over it.
Right. It's a mixture of two, right? There are some software out there that refer to diagrammatic as NPR, right? So if anybody is a fan of using like game engines like Unreal Engine or Unity, they will people in that industry refer to diagrammatic as NPR, which means non-photorealistic. Or let us call it NPR. We in architecture, we love the word diagram. You know, diagram. It's all about diagram for us. So we would more refer to it as diagrammatic and photorealistic, right? And we in architecture would use hybrid, because, you know, which is kind of a mixture of both. The next thing to consider is, what is the coordinate system? Is it 2D, 3D, or 2.5D? Who heard of this one before? Anybody? I know you didn't do this in maths because there is no such thing. So I'm gonna throw this out. Hold on. I'm gonna throw this out to Janelle. What do you think is 2.5D? You know what 2D is, and you know what 3D is. So what do you think is 2.5D, Janelle?
There's something in between 2D and 3D.
I love that answer. All right, Janet, the other Janelle, Higgins. What else can you add to that? Apart from it's yes, it's between the two. What do you think it is? Are you there, Janelle? No? Let me check my
Sir, I
message.
think you mean Jalil.
Yes, sir.
Janelle, did I say
Janelle.
Janelle? Oh, sorry,
Sir.
Janelle, sorry. Higgins, that's why I always say the last name them, you know, because sometimes I pronounce the first names wrong. Are you there, Higgins? Okay. All right. What about Kamal? What do you think 2.5D is?
something that has both 2D and 3D.
You chip out. It sounds like you said something that has both 2D and 3D.
Yeah.
So would it be like a sectional perspective also?
Not really. Not really.
Or would
Okay.
it be like there's an illusion of depth? I remember watching a cartoon where the cartoon was 2D, but there were certain elements in that cartoon that make certain characters look 3D, but they weren't. So is it an illusion of depth, or that creates a kind of mixture between 2D and 3D? But it
All
is
right.
really 2D.
All right, Krishania. Interesting answer. All right, Manika.
Sir, for 2.5D, it's pretty much like a mixture of both, but it is 2D, but because of the shadows or the illusion that it gives, it may give off 3D. And this it's like when you watch certain cartoons, they're 2D, but it's the way how the shadows are casted on them and like the way how the lights kind of goes above them, it looks 3D, but it is 2D.
All right. So Manika and who was it again? It was Krishania.
Yes, sir.
Right. I give you the cake, the virtual cake, and you can share it between yourselves, right? So that is right on the money. It's not really a mixture of 2D and 3D. It's really 2D, but it gives the illusion of depth that it is 3D, right? So at 2.5D, you could really call it maybe 2.4D because it's closer to the 2D part, because it's really a 2D object, meaning there is no z-axis. The z-axis is literally what gives something 3 dimensions. But of course, you can be using Photoshop and give it a nice shadow, and it looks like there's a z-axis, but there is no z-axis in Photoshop, right? I mean, yes, Photoshop can do 3D, but just for this example. So, but if you're in SketchUp or 3D Max, or those have a z-axis literally, so it's 3D. So the first step that we want to do is to determine the realism and the coordinate system, right? So this is like categorizing the picture that you are looking at, because right away that eliminates certain programs that you should not really use, right? And let me give that disclaimer, right? I have seen in my lifetime, I have gotten a floor plan in Microsoft Excel, right? Yes, I have gotten a floor plan in Microsoft Excel before, and it was a floor plan I could understand, right? So what do you guys think? Do you guys think it's recommended for you to do floor plans in Excel? You might be saying, is that a trick question, right? But I'm telling you this because, yes, you can use a program that's not made to do something else, right? And in some ways that is considered, I guess, creative. Maybe there's a thin line between creative and crazy, right? But I'm saying this to say that I'm working off the notion that of a program's best practice. So what do I mean? Well, you can use PowerPoint to design booklets. You can, but it's not the best practice. What is PowerPoint? What is PowerPoint's best practice? Who can tell me that?
Presentation.
Exacto mundo. That is what PowerPoint is made to do. Now, it doesn't mean that PowerPoint can't do other things, but its best practice is presentation. If you are doing a presentation with PowerPoint versus doing a presentation in Word, your experience of creating a presentation is going to be way better when you do it in PowerPoint, right? So it's not that Word can't do a presentation. You can turn it horizontal, you can hide all the icons, and you can full screen it. But you're not going to have the best experience in doing a presentation from Word. So this is what I mean by a program's best practice. That is what we're going to be focused on. All right, so let's give this a swing, right? I'm going to grab these here. I'm going to take the titles with it as well, right? And I'm going to pull somebody just at random, like Tara. Are you back? No, it's Tara Fisher that says she went out. Tara Thomas, are you back? Are you here?
Yes, sir.
All right. So on the mirror board, I have placed the categorization for the visualizations right beside your 2D floor plan, right? So I want you to pick one from each category to label your floor plan, right? Is this floor plan image photorealistic, diagrammatic, or hybrid? And is it 2D, 2.5D, or 3D? All right. So you are going to do this using your mouse. Do you have access to the mirror board, by the way?
Yes, sir.
All right. So go ahead and do that. We're all waiting in bated breath. So where does your realism fall? Is it photorealistic, diagrammatic, or hybrid? What do you think? Anybody else have opinions? What do you think? Oh, sorry. Did I group it? My bad. Let me ungroup it. Yeah, there you go. What do you think?
Okay, so I think it's photorealistic because of the presentation of the water and the trees and so, and the coordinate system. It has shadows, but it's very light, so it could be 2D or close to 2.5.
Well, you can only pick one or the other. Anybody else have any other opinions? There's no 2.1D.
I mean, I could go with it, it's just that the shadows are a little lighter than what it is. But I guess the 2.5 is really to show if it's really that, showing. So maybe 2. I think that's the
Alright.
one that
I'm going to give you copies of them because I'm going to use it elsewhere. All right. What do you guys, anybody have any opinions? Do you think the picture falls in with these two?
Yes, sir.
Personally, I wouldn't say photorealistic though.
I would say,
Okay, hold on. Who was talking first? Is it Christiania?
Ishania, yes, sir.
Yeah.
I would probably say probably diagrammatic. I don't really see anything really real about this to even say it's hybrid even. I would say diagrammatic.
You would say diagrammatic. Okay. All right. And who else was Dante? You had an opinion?
no, it was Horace.
Horace.
I would say hybrid and the coordinate system 2.5.
All right, cool. Now, I'm not going to say whether or not it is wrong or right because this is where you get into a little bit of the objective zone. I mean, art does have a little bit of objectiveness to it. But what I want you to do, Tara, is I want you to stick a pin and we're going to come back to it, right? let's just test out some other ones first. So our next person will be, let's try something else this time, like a section. And let's try, is Reeves here? Dine, are you here? Yep, yes, I see you. But are you here? Reeves? No, I don't, not hearing Reeves. All right. All right, cool. Well, who else is here? What about Andre White? Are you here? Andre?
I don't think so, sir.
All right. Let me go. Well, you know what? Maybe I should. Okay, let me try again. Let me go again. What about Brianna? Are you here, Bri?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Ah, yes. Yes, we have students. Thank goodness. All right, Bree. I am going to ask you the same question. What categories do you have access to the mirror board?
Yes, sir.
All right. I want you to pick which categories you think your section image has.
Okay, sir. Hold on 1 second.
All right, no problem. All right. I don't want to get the opinion of anybody else just yet. We want you to pick them out and then we get feedback from. So what category do you think for each? You have to pick one of each. Copy it for me so that because I'm going to use it again. Yeah.
Sorry.
Hold Alt and drag.
Okay.
All right. So 3D for you and which one will she pick? All right, there you go. All right, no problem. Anybody have any difference of opinions with what was picked here?
Sir, I would say to me it's more like 2.5D.
You would say 2.5D?
me.
You sure? You sure? I mean,
when it has shadows, so I guess you can pass 3D there. It's shadows that.
all right, cool. All right. So let me tell you something. If you find yourself like how Brianna was there said, is it diagrammatic? I know it's not photorealistic, but is it hybrid? Like, it is okay to have doubts about the image because this is art. It's not a mathematical thing where it's either 0 or 1, right? It's not binary. So you in a way you cannot select something that's wrong, but you can select things that are less right. I don't know if you can put it that way. You get what I'm saying? So let's move on. I think we kind of get the gist of what we are saying, right? So we were at step 1. So step 1 is to determine what category the visualization falls under. And usually that's either under realism or coordinate system. Now, our second step is where things get a little bit more interesting, right? Which is to determine the visual qualities, all right? So now this has a bit more categories, and there are usually 5 visual qualities that would exist, particularly for architecture. And guess what? this what I'm telling you is not the gospel. Like, it's not that I'm saying, you know, it's either this or nothing at all. This is simply a method that I'm suggesting that most, if not all, architectural visualizations will have a feature of, right? So let's do the first one. I'm going to grab this here. And this one is a little bit more complex than the other one. So I'm going to, let's use this here. Kind of zoom in where I can see both of these. All right. Let's give this some more. Let's give this some more space. So I'm gonna do it like that. All right. Okay. So hue or color. We know what hue or color is, right? And usually, you define the hue or color by a feeling. What's the word? Oh Lord, the word escapes me. When something is data based, when something is based in data versus based in qualitative, right, and quantitative, right? That's what I'm trying to remember. So usually with hue and color, there is a qualitative nature of it. Let me put it here for you just to make it life easy. I'm gonna say a qualitative this description, right? And a quantitative description. All right. Now, who can tell me what's the difference between qualitative and quantitative? You guys are in college, so you must can tell me that. Who wants to volunteer quickly and tell me?
Sir, could you repeat the question, please?
What's the difference between qualitative and quantitative?
I think qualitative is more subjective and quantitative has to deal with like numbers.
Right. So qualitative is like I feel that this makes me feel this way. And quantitative is that this is this way, right? So, you know, the sky is blue. I don't feel like it is blue. It is blue, right? Right. And I see Andre, right. Quantitative is factual. That is correct, Andre. So usually when you're describing color in this circumstance, I normally give it two meanings because we say things like sea blue, sunshine yellow, you know, so there's a feel kind of part to it. It is yellow, but because we associate it with a feeling, you know, it helps us to more define the color. So we can say something has muted colors. So we can say a muted red, right? Brittany, when I say a muted red, you know, can you describe that red? What does that red feel like versus if I say vibrant red?
Muted red, it would seem as if the transparency is lower.
Right, it's kind
and
of
the
pale.
vibrant red. The vibrant red is bright.
There you go. So usually you would need to define your image in terms of color, a quantitative color description and a qualitative color description. So for example, this drawing is clean black and white, right? The qualitative is clean because there's a lot of white spaces. And guess what? Clean, you could use another word, but this is what I choose to be the qualitative description. And then it is black and white because, like, literally it is black and white. It's a fact, right? So these descriptions here, let me ungroup that. All right. So my qualitative description is, let's say, clean. And my quantitative description is going to say black and white. Right? Okay, next we have shadows, right? And if you notice, you see some of these options have two in a row and some have a single option, right? So this means that the image you choose, well, it in this category, it can have either hard or soft, but it can't have hard and soft. Well, I guess it can. I mean, in art, nothing is ever like, you know what I mean? Sure or confirmed, but usually it either have hard or it have soft. Or, so it's either you choose this option or this option, right? So to make this easy, I'm going to put, or between it. Yeah, let's put that in the middle. There we go. So, and this I will put and. So you say this and this, but it's either this or this. As a matter of fact, this needs to get an or between it too, right? It is either hard or soft, or it is either no shadows. Yeah, question?
Yeah, I mean, some of the images have both hard and soft shadows.
True,
because they're
true.
ambient shadows as well.
Yeah, but what we're going to do is that because we're dealing with art, we're going to use the most dominant one. So like if we say something like this image has green, it is greenish, it don't mean that it don't have blue in there or hints of purple, but we might just describe it based on what is the summarized description. All right. You see what happened is that software is a technical thing, but art is not technical. So what you find is that you can have somebody who knows a software 100%, but what they produce is not what you would describe as creative, right? And the reason for that is that literally a software is zeros and ones. You flip switches on and off, but you combine them in such a way so that you can get something creative. Now, what we're trying to do is we are trying to get some pragmatic values from our drawing, because that will help us to point us to the software that we want to use. But once we know what software we're going to use, then it changes from this pragmatic approach to an artistic approach, right? So for example, so stick a pin, who was it? Was it Dante? Who was it that asked me?
Yes, sir, Dante.
Right. So I want you to stick a pin. I'm going to give you a more complete answer to what you were saying, that some images don't have like a definite specific color or specific hard or soft shadows, but it has one that you can use to describe it. And for example, this is why was Brianna? Hold on, no, let me go back down here. Right, this is why Brianna, she was trying to determine, is this diagrammatic or is it photorealistic? Like, and that's okay, because this is a creative thing. It's organic. It's not like a mathematical thing where it can be either or. So when we describe the image, it is kind of just summarizing the image. It is not saying that it is definitely this. It is like just a summary. So you will see a little later how this all comes together. So this is my description of this. So in this case, I'm going to say it has no shadows, right? What about line work? Well, line work, it can either be outline yes or outline no. What do I mean by an outline? Let me call the name. Can Barnett tell me what do I mean by outline?
Meaning there's a hard line denoting textures or shadows. I'm not sure.
Not quite. You started off okay, but then you kind of Cavern. No, Severin. Sorry, Dwyer. You there, Dwyer?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Right. What do you think we mean by outline? Outline line work.
I mean, if the line weights are apparent or more dominant in the composition, I guess.
I think I understand what you're saying, even though maybe you say it in a way that I wouldn't quite agree with. Let me ask, let me see who here. Well, everybody here is a Rivet fan, really, right? Brianna, you are a Rivet fan because I see here. Well, everybody is a Rivet fan. Let me see who have the most work in Rivet. Okay, Brittany, I see you have a couple steps in Rivet. I like how you're over here already. When I say the word outline in Rivet, do you have a visual representation of what that means?
Not really, sir.
Right, so remember that when we use Revit, oh, sorry, I don't have Revit open. Oh, well. Okay, well, I will open it a little later. But anybody use Revit? They have gone into outline mode in Revit? I'm sure everybody here use Revit because it's a part of most
So
people's
it's like,
workflow.
is it like hidden line? Like
Exact. Hold on, hidden line. Yes, exactly. It's what Revit refer to as hidden line. So an outline is when you can see clearly the edges of your visualization, when the edges are highlighted, like a cartoon, or like when you're in Revit, or like when you're in SketchUp, right? You can see a clear outline. So does it have outline, yes or no? So in this case, I'm going to say yes. It has an outline. Is it clean line or organic line work? What do I mean by this? Well, let me just answer that question rather than throwing that one out. Who did I see here? Oh wow, everybody. I don't see. Not seeing much persons with organic this time around. Last time, most persons seem to love that feel, but this time everybody is all clean line. Okay. All right, let me try it. Okay. Yeah, most people here are going to be clean line. Yeah, okay. I'll have to show you from another example. But essentially, organic line work simply means that it's squiggly. It looks like a sketchy kind of effect, right? And some people might like that. When you have lines, the lines can either be clean or sketchy, right? Yes, you can have dash lines and arrows and all of these things, but this is just a description. Does the description feel clean line work to you, or does it feel organic, like random, right? Oh, here I am. Right. So in this case, I'm going to say it's clean line. There we go. All right, so surfacing, right? So the surfaces that are there, is it a gradient or flat? Or is it textured? Now, when I look on these surfaces here, I mean, yes, there is like a fill or texture here, but generally, how would you describe the surfacing of this drawing here? Just a volunteer, anybody?
So what are the options again?
So it's either gradient or flat or textured.
Textured and flat.
You would
I
say
would just say
textured.
For the cuts, I would say textured, but for like the houses in the context, I would say those are flat.
Yeah, but like just looking at the image as a whole, like
Textured.
you would say textured. All right.
Yes.
Anybody else with any other
I would say
opinion?
flat, sir.
Let's say flat.
All right. Looks like flat wins, right? So, hey, guess what? Remember I said there is no real right answer, but you can choose an answer that is more wrong. All right. So, and the last one is going to be overlays and effects, right? So this overlays and effects, this pretty much covers a wide range. Like here we go. These have overlays and effects. All right, you can see them. You have the line work and the all of these things. Some of them, for example, like yeah, like this one here, they have like descriptions of each level, so it has like symbols, so all of that falls under I'll go back here. All of that falls under overlay and effects. This one, it does have some overlays here in terms of some labelings and so forth, so it does have some, and usually this one would be a description. So I would say it does have it in the form of labels, right? And yeah, I guess so. Labels and arrows, I guess so. Right, this is just a very basic description. All right. Oh, let's not forget about the first part. Where is it? Let me grab it from here. Right, so let me move these guys over. Okay, so this is obviously a 3D diagram, and it is definitely diagrammatic. I won't even ask that question because it is like very clear, right? Okay. Now, this is what you end up with, right? And this is what will help you to determine the software that you're going to use, right? This is like saying this diagram in front of me is a 3D diagrammatic, clean line, black and white, with no shadows. It has outlines with clean lines, with mostly flat surfaces and labels and arrows. Do you see how I fit that in one complete sentence that describes this picture?
Yes, sir.
Exactly. And this is the secret formula that you are going to use to determine, well, let me not say determine, because it's not like when you do this, you press a button and then your visualization is magically created, right? But what happens is that this puts you on a path to choose the appropriate software, because you said to yourself that it is 3D, so you're not going to use Photoshop or you're not going to use Illustrator, because you said to yourself, it's like saying that this is a video, so I'm going to use Premiere Pro to edit it. You're not going to now go back and use Word to edit the video, right? Now, this leads me to my last step here. And what I have here is this interesting matrix. And I want you to notice something here. I'm going to move these up higher so you can see it a bit clearer, right? Remember, I spoke to you earlier and I said most architectural visualization software falls into one of these categories. It doesn't really matter what the software is, but like obviously you can see that, okay, SketchUp can model simple shapes, 3D Max, Blender can model complex shapes. We know that Lumion can get photorealistic, and we know that Revit and ArchiCAD and AutoCAD have architectural tools, right? So it's not really about the software, but I want you to think in terms of these categories, right? And then what you find now when you mix the software with it is most programs that do vector editing are great at doing diagrams. They're great at doing hybrid. They can do 2D and 2.5D. They can give you soft shadows, hard shadows, clean line, outline, textured, gradient surface, and they can give you diagramming and symbols. So all of these that you're seeing here falls on the software that are vector. And most, right? Don't take me to court on this, right? Because they are in between softwares. But for our purposes, we're simplifying this, right? So let me give you another example. Let's say a software that is that can be photorealistic, can give you photorealistic or hybrid images. They can definitely produce 3D. They can give you soft shadows, hard shadows, textured surface, and they can do outline. But what about all the rest of stuff? Well, a program that can do all of this for you usually is not able to do stuff like give you symbols and diagramming symbols, right? And remember, guys, as I said, don't take this too literal, because maybe there's a feature in Lumion that lets you get symbols. Like, it's not impossible, but we're talking about best practice. So quite likely you're not going to be doing symbols in Lumion, right? So what this is, it's like a guiding matrix. So for example, if you said to yourself that this is the DNA for this picture, right? So this is the picture I have here. And I know that these are the features that are here. I can easily just kind of map to myself. I can say that, well, it's going to be a diagrammatic picture. So I want to get, I need to copy these. Copy those there and that. And let's make this a little smaller. Right, there we go. Right, so because it's going to be diagrammatic, you know, I want to get Illustrator in there. You could use Photoshop if you want, and this is where it comes into skill. Maybe you're more skilled with Photoshop, so you would rather use Photoshop to do your diagramming, or maybe you're more skilled with Illustrator. It depends. But this image is 3D, so what are you going to use to do your 3D? Is it going to be SketchUp, 3D Max, or Revit, right? And you can look on the image so you can kind of determine what is there. The other things you have about it being clean, like this is in terms of the color and hue, right? If you notice, Photoshop is the main one here that has to adjust color and hue. Like, I know it's a debate. You can change the color of things in Lumion or Twinmotion and maybe Revit, or it's just that you would only use Photoshop to manipulate color and hue as a best practice, right? So now there might be other programs like Lightroom. Lightroom can do this as well. So it's not to say that you can only use Photoshop. So both of these here would be Photoshop. Well, actually, wait. in this case, to achieve the clean look, let me see. No shadows. So you're basically going to use this to determine, to eliminate what software you shouldn't use. Let's put it that way. All right, guys. So that is, where is my thing here? That is step 2. Determine the visual qualities. Step 3 is to select the appropriate software. So after you've decided on those 2 things, pick which software you want to use. That's fairly straightforward. Here is step 4, which is really nice. Research. Find relevant tutorials online that support these effects that you're trying to do. And what I've done here is I've curated, I think is the top 9 or top 10, no, top 9 channels that you can get some really, really good tutorials. Like, I am sure everybody here can find a tutorial for something that they want to achieve, but they're not sure how to do it, right? And this is the thing now, guys. When you're doing an advanced visualization course, it varies from a basic course. When I did Photoshop with DDM with you guys, teaching the basics of a program, that's no problem. This is the button. This is what it does. This is how you save. This is how you export. Done. But when teaching advanced things about a program, there is a vast, huge amount of different things that you can do to an advanced level for every program. So you're not going to come into advanced computing 1 and we do like, I don't know, 50,000 tutorials and advanced techniques. Instead, this is where you guys filter the advanced technique that you want to use. So for example, Upstairs is one of my favorite sites. By the way, to access these, what you do is you click on it and then you click this symbol here. This is how Mirror works, right? You need to click this symbol to get to the source. So when you click on that now, this is the Upstairs channel, right? Awesome channel for visualization. All you do, you just head over to videos and look at all of these, right? So site and a quick, powerful method for doing site analysis. There is so much here, like architectural elevations in Photoshop. All you have to do is look on the picture to determine if you think this is the effect that you want to achieve in the technique that you selected. Now, some persons might skip over this step quicker than others because maybe you know how to get this effect already, right? What I will be going through for next class for you guys is I will be taking like the top 10 things that 80% of you will likely be having to know to produce your images, right? And that is a set of tutorials that I've done myself that is curated just for Advanced Computing 1, right? But I don't want us to start with that. I want you guys to cast your net wider. So you're going to find relevant videos. I've already curated the top channels that you will find. I'm guaranteeing you will find a tutorial here that matches the thing that you don't know how to do for your image. And that is step 4. And step 5 is you're going to create your artwork. Now, step 5 is not the final output. What is the final output? You need to document your process. And when you document your process, that is when you create that flow chart that we did earlier this morning. So to answer, who was it again? Who asked me the question earlier?
Dante.
Right. So Dante, you were asking me if you're supposed to create the workflow first and then do the work. No, the truth is that the workflow comes at the end because all you're doing is documenting what you did. Because after you go through all of these steps, after you've determined this and determined the visual qualities, you select. When I say the word select, I mean, if you realize that you have to use Twinmotion and you don't have Twinmotion, you need to download Twinmotion. You need to literally get the software that you will probably need, and you knew you need them because you had figured out the DNA of your image. For example, that is clean line, that is 3D, that is blah blah blah. So all of that would point you in the right direction, so you know that you need to have the software. Then when you're going to research, and chances are when you find a tutorial, right? This one here is really good, Archie Hacks, and Surviving Architecture is really, really good. Like all of these are like, as I say, it's the top 9. I've used them for years, and it is like a gold mine of resources, guys. I'm telling you, you're going to be like, whoa. I mean, YouTube is full of stuff, and there's probably more. But right off the bat, these are the top ones for architectural visualization, especially in architecture school, right? So somebody might show you a tutorial, but you might only need the first 2 minutes of that tutorial to do something with shades or shadows or something, and the rest of it you don't need. So this is why at the end you need to document what you did. Super important, because if you remember the first question that I asked, who was it that I asked? I asked Tara early this morning, how did you come up with this image? How did you create this image? And anybody can remember one of the words that I focused on? Our phrases, it was some of the things. I
don't remember.
Exactly, right? And the idea is 2 years down the line, you can look back on the workflow and know exactly how you produce this image, right? All right. Okay, so what is going to happen now is that for your presentation that you're going to make when it's presentation day, you guys would need to figure out the anatomy of your image. You would need to select all of these to describe what your image is, right? Just like how I did it here, you're going to do it for all of your images, right? Now, you're not going to do it now in class, because when you present it to me, we are going to decipher how well you describe the anatomy of your image. Like, is it really 2D or 3D, right? This is actually what forms a part of your understanding of your visualization, right? It's how you have described your picture, right? So you're going to have this for all of your images. So everybody is going to do that for their images. Remember, you don't have to do it today for today's class. You're going to do it, well, I would assume that you need to do it before you start, before you start working, right? So you can just stick those anywhere within your quadrant, right? And that is how we go about doing that. Now, for next week's class, what is going to happen is I am going to do a demonstration of this, right? So this visual that was created, I'm going to show you how it was done. And in the process of me showing you how it was done, you will hopefully discover some common themes that you will apply to your image, right? We're going to look over about 10 common things that you need to know I would say generally to accomplish this. All right. All right. Now, a part of our class that we'll have, the last part of our class, is going to be where I'm going to be having a conversation with each one of you, maybe about any challenges. Remember, I was saying earlier that some of you might have picked an image and you're saying, you're wondering, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get the grass on top of this building? You know, is it that this whole thing is 3D and there's grass, or can I just use Photoshop to put some grass on the top of this building? Right? You know, how am I going to cut this section? Right? Okay. All right. So, are there any questions for me in the meantime?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Tara, go ahead with your question.
Sir, I know that you told us we're supposed to put our images for the assignment number 1, and after you approve it today, we're supposed to submit it. I think the deadline is supposed to be, I think, today, or it's extended.
Right. So when you submit your image to me, it's like confirmation that this is the image that you are going to mimic. So to answer your question, yeah, I by the end of the day today, by latest tomorrow, everyone needs to submit their image. Because even though you stick your image on the mirror board, like, you haven't given me your signature until you have submitted it, right? So yes. So I'm actually going through the image. I'm actually going to use the rest of the class to approve the images that I see here, or to deny images that are not living up to its criteria, right? So I'm going to be doing that now. All right. All right. Are there any more questions? We have one final thing to unveil. Can anybody guess what it is? What's the last thing to unveil for this assignment? No, really?
So that's not the model. Yeah.
Exactly. Because remember, you chose all of these lovely images, right? I'm loving this floor plan. Sean. Oh, Lord. Sorry, my background just got a little noisy. Right. Yeah, you guys can hear me, right? I can barely hear myself.
Yes,
Anyway,
sir.
right. Right. So what are you going to be creating these techniques on? Like, what is your subject? What is your guinea pig? Your specimen? Like, because remember, you're not going to model something from scratch. You're not going to like model this floor plan, or you're not going to model a building that looks like this, right? I am going to give you a model, and that is the model that you will use to generate all of these things. So if you've noticed, I have not given you a model yet. I have it here with the curtains drawn on it, waiting for a drum roll so that I can unveil this model to you. So without further ado, Tara has another question, or is that an old hand?
No,
Oh,
so another question. Just for
Mhm.
in case, like, okay, if somebody one of the images was not approved, but say by tomorrow we're supposed to submit, and we have to change that image for you to get the approval before we actually submit that. Just have to. I just ask you, in case, just
So
want
you
to
have,
make sure.
well, guess what? You have in doubt about your images? All right.
So in case somebody did that answer, I just ask that.
Well, actually, that's a very good question, because I was actually wondering how nobody don't ask me that yet. I was thinking, everybody is super confident about their images, right? Okay, so the truth is that if there is no absolute calamity, then you should be fine. But if there was some grand calamity with the image you have selected, I don't know, maybe you don't, your computer exploded, you no longer have access to a software or something, then yes, you can talk to me and we can get that image possibly changed, right? So it is possible. That's the answer to your question. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. But one would hope that, but don't worry, the images that I look on, I'm going to like ask you if there's something that you're not sure of. And guess what? It is okay to feel a little uneasy about the images you select, because you should be pushing the boundaries, your visualization boundaries, like to achieve this thing, right? Before I reveal the model, there is one final thing I want to remind you. And it's not that I'm telling you for the first time, I'm just reminding you. Who can describe to me what this assignment is? This one that is due on week 13. Who remembers?
For me.
Okay.
They did explain it, sir.
Right. So what is it?
You must at least use two of the as you say, examples that we chosen into our studio presentation, and send the page with it, and also the images of the images of them. From what we use from assignment 1.
You are correct. You are correct. So I want to remind you of that. So for example, right. So this is an example of a student work. This was the image that was selected to be mimicked, right? And this was their studio project. So you can see examples of how it's used there. And the same thing for this, and this was their studio project here, right? And they, what you do, you submit the sheet, and then you submit the sheet with the graphic, and then you submit the graphic by itself. You can screen clip it if you can't generate it or whatever. So you don't have to like render it again. You can just do a screen clip of the area on the page. But yeah, so I want to remind you of you guys. So it's not just about doing this awesome technique and then that's it. I can forget about it. I want you to use it, and you can use it however you want. Like, you don't have to produce all of your floor plans using the technique. Maybe you just do it for the site plan, or you just do it for a concept plan. Like, maybe you just do the technique for one of your massing objects. Like, you don't have to blockbuster it. You don't have to like, especially if it's a technique that you feel that you haven't mastered. So for example, where is my mirror board? I think I have too much things open. Where are you, mirror? Here you are. Right. So for example, Tara, like how you described the project to me. Let's say you did this nice section here. By the way, nice section, Tara. Can't wait to see you do this, right? Maybe you don't have to use this section as your main section in your studio project. You could use it. You could use the technique on a little diagram, so you don't have to put yourself in a spot where the technique that you do is so difficult that it made it harder for you to reproduce your studio work with it. So depending on your own confidence level, you choose how you want to use it in your design studio. All right. So please remember that, guys. Right. So you need to gauge your capabilities. All right. Don't say that is sir from Advanced Computing One make me fail studio because him tell me say must use this fancy technique and I don't know how to do it properly or what. No, you need to gauge it. You have 4 to pick from. So you can choose anyone. And guess what? Your design studio work will be better because of it. Like, you know what I'm saying, Tara? When you have a technique to get this done for Advanced Computing One, it will be easy for you to replicate this for your design studio because you will have your workflow diagram and all you have to do is follow it. All right. So, you know, I'm really hoping that you guys put some investment in this process. Because I'm telling you that in the past, like I have many examples of what student did in Advanced Computing One, and then you look at their CSA, their end of their exhibition, and when you look, it's just like, wow, they use the same technique and they even made it better, right? So I hope you guys use this to really invest in learning your techniques. And it's visualization. We just touched on some of the things that you need to know as a professional, and visualization is so key. Like, it doesn't matter what level you are, whether student or architect, like, you need to know visualization to some level. All right. Okay, so our final event for today is presenting your model. You know what? Next year I'm going to carry some drum roll effects so that I can make it a bit more hype, but you know. All right, guys, this is going to be your model, right? What I have provided for you is this model in all of these file formats. I have also given you a plan. These plans are in AutoCAD. They're just raw line work, right? You can access the model by clicking this link here. When you click the link, you will get access to this folder. This is your model in various file formats. I have IFC, FBX, DAE, Revit, 3ds Max. By the way, the native file format of this model is 3ds Max. That is the native file format. All right. All right.
Yes,
All right. Yes, question. Is there a question? Oh, no? Yes?
Are we allowed to change materials?
Aha, I love that question. So the rules of engagement are you cannot change the structure of your model. However, you can, of course, change the materials to whatever you please. Right? So what do I mean by that? Well, there is a window here. Right? And this curtain wall that's here, you cannot put wall there and delete the curtain wall. You cannot modify the bones of the model, but you can change anything. Like you could change the material. All right.
Okay, sir.
All right. Now, I want to give you guys some tips, and I'll do those tips while I am approving your models, right? So I'm going to copy this.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, ask away.
Okay, so just making sure. So from today, as soon as we submit, it's quite until the 27th of September, we have the presentation for the for everything that you have shown today.
Right. So on the 27th, you would be presenting you will be presenting your workflow diagram.
Mm-hmm.
You will be presenting the techniques. This is my technique, and this is what. So you will show the image you selected and then the image you produced. So this is what you will be presenting on Mirrorboard. Then what you will be submitting when you decide to submit,
Okay.
you will submit your Mirrorboard link. You're going to submit a PDF of the image you produced, and then you're going to submit a screen clip with them side by side. All right, so when you click on this link on the handout, literally, you are presented with this form. Oops. Right, and see, the form says your name, blah, 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 and submit your side by side and your actual. Oh, right, that's on the next page. Right. Right. So that is what you'll be submitting. But remember, you don't need to submit yet. The only thing that you're going to submit for me by tomorrow is what is the images that you have selected, that you have confirmed on. All right, you're going to click this button here for each one of these, and you're going to submit your floor plan image, your section image, your blah, 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 and you're going to do the same thing to submit your communication challenge for your floor plan, the communication challenge for your 2D, and if you have any communication objective, and if you have any communication objective for your X-ray image, then you submit it here. All right, so this is all you will be submitting by tomorrow, which is basically just the images that you have placed on the Mirrorboard, right? So you kind of have until tomorrow to just confirm that those are the images you want to use. You know what I mean?
Yes.
All right. So please, if you need to answer a question, please ask away. All right. Okay, so time to get approving. So all right, so what I'll do is, so you guys, for those of you who are having any doubts about your images, you can just go through and tidy them up. For those of you who didn't complete the activity number 2, you can go ahead and make sure you have it completed, because after today this will be closed off and activity number 2 will be in the bag. If you participated, you get the point. If you did not, then you don't. All right. All right. So I'm going to be just approving the pictures. If I see anything that looks a little weird, I will just ask you. Oh, Tara, I love your section image. One of my favorite images. I'm eager to not. This is Fisher, Tara. Oh, this image looks pretty nice. Interesting. All right, cool. Okay, so Tara, your X-ray, your technique to mimic for your X-ray are exploded, right? Technically, you're here, Tara? I remember you said you had to step out. Oh, you're not come back yet. Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, I was saying that she doesn't need this image here because this one accomplishes the communication objective. Unless she wants to show a blue thing here. But in either case, that is fine. All right, Horace, you are good already. Jalil. Yeah, this looks okay. This looks okay here. You know what, Jalil, are you here? Yes, you are. You can hear me? Higgins? Higgins, you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Right. Right. I was saying that this, like, which one of these images are your favorite image? Is
I
it that
like
you?
the one.
The one to the left, the 3D section.
Oh, you like the 3D section? All right, cool. And
Yeah.
then you're going to be doing your communication. You're going to be putting these lines on this thing, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Looks good. So, Jalil, you wouldn't need this image over here because this accomplishes the objective already.
Oh.
Because it highlights it, so you wouldn't need this here. So I'm going to remove that. And yep, this one is fine. Now for the rest of you, I want you to start thinking about now. So for example, Jalil, this is the model that you're going to be given. And you need to now produce this with this model. And the same thing goes for everybody. So I want you to start to process in your mind, like, because the model that you're using is different than the image the technique you are mimicking, right? The buildings are different. So you need to start so for example, Jalil, this is like a site explosion. It's not like a building explosion.
Yeah.
But it could be that you are going to make up other buildings on the site, and then maybe this red building here is this, and then your site is being exploded. Or maybe you're going to just imagine you're going to apply this technique to the building itself and break apart the building, right? So I want you guys to think about that because, for example, Jalil, let's say that you chose, just as a rough example, this image here. This image is at the scale of a building, whereas the image that you choose is on the scale of a site.
Yeah.
So, not that it can't work, but you have to kind of think about, so it's up to you. But in any case, this image is approved, so that's some food for thought.
Yes.
All right, Sean, is Sean here? No, I don't see Sean. Nope. All right. All right. So. So it's the same thing again with this. I don't know if Sean had seen the instructions, but he wouldn't need another image here because you are not required to show the things like wind direction and all of that on the 3D the perspective. What the perspective is doing is highlighting, like that's the objective, so you wouldn't need this. So I'm gonna put something here and say you do not need this. All right, cool. All right, moving on. Yep, this looks pretty good. And I guess he's going to combine these. Okay, no problem. All right. Moving on. Is Jeremy here? Jeremy Bonfield? No, I don't see Jeremy. All right, well, that looks fine. That looks fine. That looks fine, and that looks fine. And this is fine. This is pretty cool. I don't think you need this image here, so let's see. You don't need this image. All right. Same thing for here. I realize some people, this image accomplishes everything already, so no need to choose that. Same thing with this. Well, this actually is not approved. So, where's that thing? Where is it? It's up here. Where did I put it? Here we go. God. Oh, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I don't see it. I'm just gonna pick that one. So no, and no. This is fine, and that is fine, and this is fine, and that is fine. All right, cool. All right. Chantal, is Chantal here? Yep, you're here, Chantal.
I'm here, sir.
All right, cool. Eager to see this being produced. I hope you're like thinking about it. You know, like what remember the first thing everybody needs to do is go through that 5 step to kind of define what to define the kind of anatomy of your image, right? All right, Chantal, that looks great. So Chantal, you wouldn't need, well, if you want, this is fine. But remember, the objective of the exploded is that you need to show an internal space viewed externally. So you are seeing the internal spaces here. So, you know, but if it is that you wanted to put another effect in this, then fine. But you don't have to use this if you don't want. Here.
Okay, sir.
If you did this alone, then that would be fine. That would be fine.
Okay, sir, no problem.
All right, Miss Tara. All right. You see, you have already started to define your floor plan, so you just need to finish that. I'm looking forward to your section, Tara. Oh, and this night. So, for example, Tara, it was Buchanan that was asking about no, Dante was asking about the material, if you can change the material. So in this case, you would want to change the material to kind of mimic what you have here. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Right, but you can't change the building, so you can't like put round stuff there. You know that. You can make up the site, by the way, guys. I didn't give you a site, so your imagination can go wild with that. And same thing again, Tara. Well, I guess, I mean, this image is accomplishing the objective. But if you wanted your objective to be the circulation, the vertical circulation, then sure. So any one of these can work. This is fine. This is Uno. This is Kings. Ooh, nice section. As I see a section, Kings, I'm thinking about like a tutorial I just watched that has this exact thing. So please look through the tutorials that I gave you guys, because some good stuff is in there, right? All right. Kings, are you here? Yes, you are. You can hear me? Kings. Okay, maybe he stepped away, but okay. But
He says he's here,
Says
yes,
he
sir.
can't respond.
oh, okay, right. So all right, give me 1 second, guys. 1 second. Right. What I was saying, Kings, is that notice some of you might find that you have selected similar images. So for example, you have a similar image to who was it? Who was it again? What a similar image to Kings again? All right.
Go up some more. I think it's Star that have the same 3D image.
Right. It was Tara, but not that Tara. It was right. Yes. So it would be interesting to know how each one of you achieve that technique, because you might end up using different routes to get to the same solution. So that is usually an interesting thing in the presentation, because the person who did it one way say, you use this program, I wouldn't think to use that program or whatever, and we can learn from each other. All right. Manika, I like your floor plan. It's looking mighty nice. Like there's so many. I hope you're going to use the tutorials that I sent out, because I know one that has exactly the techniques that you would use there. Yep, like your section. Okay. For the perspective, I think that one needs a little bit more rework. You hear, Manika? Yes, you're here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So you remember the objective, right? So it doesn't have to be a building, by the way. I remember one year somebody chose an image that highlighted a window inside a facade of many windows. I mean, that accomplishes the same goal, but you have to highlight something of interest within a dense kind of monotonous context. So this doesn't really achieve that. All right, so you need to select a different image there, and as same thing for your technique. You don't need to have the second image here. You can just, because this first image already shows the interior spaces, and that's the whole objective of that. So that's fine. Okay, Reeves. Okay, nice. What I would say, Reeves, is just crop the image to the one that you want to choose. I'm assuming it's this one. So, or it could be this one up here. So, you can just crop the image to the one that you choose. All right. All right. Section is looking okay. Same thing for the perspective. This is fine. You don't need this. All right, because this is the communication objective. All right. Are you with me, Reeves? Are you hearing me? All right. As for the exploded view, this is showing the interior spaces, so that's fine. And I guess you're going to use this to highlight. So that is fine. Moving on to Mr. Leslie. Mr. Leslie, where is your communication objective? Are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
All right, so you need to choose your communication objective. As for your perspective highlight, well, this doesn't really, I mean, the context is dark, but this one is exactly what you should do. So you can just use this image and, right, just forget that one. As for this doesn't really achieve the mimic. The mimic says a view where you can see the inside space from externally. So this one would accomplish that, but not this one. Well, actually, no, this does it. because it's transparent. So yeah. So actually, but you know, it's like you only need one. You understand, Reeves?
Leslie, sir,
I
yeah,
mean
but I thought
Leslie.
like we needed one with like the communication is the one with the labels and stuff, because this one didn't have any labels, so I was
Right.
wondering which one works.
But that's why I want you guys to definitely look on the handout, because on the handout, oops. Where are you, handouts? Did I close it? I think all right, here it is. Right. On the handout, remember your communication objectives are different for each technique. So just because on one you're highlighting circulation, it doesn't mean you're highlighting circulation on the other one. You have to read the handouts, right? So for the X-ray, what you need to achieve is either, remember, you're only choosing one of these things to communicate, not all of them. So it's either you're showing structural system, you're showing a element like inside a column or something, a car or something, or you're highlighting a space within the building. Like you need to show one of these in your mimic. So I mean, in this this is semi-transparent, but you're supposed to either be showing a space or the highlighting the structure. So this is not really doing that. I would try to select one image that does both. Because, okay, let's say that you selected this as your main image here, but you would need to accomplish, like it would need to highlight an internal space or highlight the structure. I mean, the structure is here, but it's not really highlighted. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir, understood.
Right. So you would need to confirm a way that you want the structure to be highlighted by putting what you want to mimic here. And this isn't really doing that. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir, understood.
Right. All right, cool. Alrighty. All right. Krishania, your floor plan is looking a little simple, but it has the line work and all of that. And if you're passionate about that style, then no problem. Are you there, Krishania? No, I don't see you. Okay. The section is good. Yep. The technique to mimic is fine. I don't really need that because that is there. And same thing with this. You see like how it highlights a space on the inside. This is fine, so we don't need to have that there. All right, for Andre White, floor plan is okay, a little on the simple side, but okay. Oh, this section is interesting. And okay, cool. I'm loving this perspective here. But I don't see why. Andre, are you here?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Yeah, why is there so much images here? Like this one, I think, achieves what you need to achieve, right? Right. So remember that it has to be highlighting an object or some kind of subject within a dense urban setting This is not really dense, but I can clearly see that these buildings are highlighted. So, and same thing for this. So you need to pick one. So which one is it? Is it this one or this one?
Sir, the top one.
All right, cool. So you don't need that one. And this one here is fine. All right, moving on. So Kamal, floor plan is looking mighty nice. Looking forward to that floor plan.
Sir,
Yes. Who has a question for me?
sir, I have
Karen.
a question.
Yep, go ahead.
In terms of the quantitative and qualitative description, it could be more than one description to it, or it's just one word that
You
describes
can put a
that,
phrase.
Okay, all right.
All right. But don't put a poem, please.
Okay.
Right? That's a, you know, like you say, champion white, or you want to say sea coral brown. You know what I mean? So yeah. You put a feel and then you put a color. Right. You can make up the feel. All right. Okay, this is fine, and this one is fine, and this is fine. This is interesting. Kamal, are you here? Yes, I see you. What are you here?
Yes, sir.
Right. When you're doing this one is interesting. So next class we meet, I'll show you how to identify, to help you to identify. It would be good if you have a sharper image though, but if you can. But notice for some of you, you have text that is embedded in the composition of your image, right? So don't forget the text. You don't have to put the same text. You can make up some other appropriate text, but don't forget the text information, because that is called overlays, effects and overlays, right? So don't forget those. All right. See if we can get a higher resolution so that you can kind of see what's happening in here. All right. We are making our way down to the bottom of the list. Dante, let's see. Your floor plan is looking interesting. Your section is looking interesting as well. And remember, I was saying, Dante, that you don't need this one because this is fine. And okay, all right, this is looking great. Joel, your plans are looking great. Section is a nice, simple, clean section. It's fine. Your 3D perspective, looking forward to this one. This one is typically popular, so I want to know how you're going to achieve this one. Oh, I like this. I like the shadows on this exploded view. So looking forward to that one as well. All right. All right, Janelle. Okay, Janelle. Yes, this is one of my favorite floor plans, so I want you to make it look nice for me, right, Janelle?
I'll try, sir.
Oh, this is an interesting color. When you're doing these, Janelle, also on the one that describe effects and symbols, you would try to get entourage that match the entourage here, right? Also notice things like the portrait on the wall, like, you know, something that kind of mimic those little things. Those will help to bring out the section. By the way, also notice how the section is taken, right? So you will have to decide how you're going to cut your the section, you know? This almost looks like you want to turn the building diagonal and cut it. So that would be interesting. And I'm loving this turquoise color. It's a very interesting color for a section. All right, I'll be looking out for your section, Janelle. All right, no pressure. All right, yep. So guys, I'm glad you selected this image, Janelle, because in this case, it's not necessarily an aerial view, but it is highlighting this building within this dense context. So it's still very much qualified in this category. So good alternate selection, Janelle. All right. Would be interesting to see what's your workflow like to achieve that image, right? And your exploded view is fine. Rihanna, I'm loving that floor plan, white and brown. Looking forward to that one too. Oh yes, and your section, you have already started to kind of deduce it. That is great. Okay, fine. This is okay. And this is one of my favorites again. So looking forward to that one for you, Brianna. All right, we're down to our last three. Darren, yep, your plan is okay, a little on the simple side. Your communication objective, I don't really, I guess there's a highlight, so okay, fine. That's okay. Your section is looking good. This seems to be fine. A point to note, Darren. Is Darren here?
Yes, sir.
Right. When you're doing this kind of highlights the site and not necessarily the building. Doesn't mean it's disqualified, but just a point to note, because you're only getting a building model from me, right? So you would have to kind of create that site to mimic this around the building model. You understand?
Noted.
But it's not really highlighting the building. That's the thing. But I don't know. I will still qualify it, and you figure out how you're going to mimic this style. But in your case, you need to use the building.
Yeah,
you're highlighting the building, right? So so maybe you can color around it or something, and your thing is fine. Oh, this is one of my favorite floor plan styles. I did one for this. I did this for a style for a client, for a resort project. I'm going to show that next week. So, Archibald, are you here?
Yes, sir. I saw him put my image here. I don't.
Right. So yeah, man. So next week, so lucky you, but I have a project that I use this technique on. So.
All right, sir. Looking forward to
that. Nice section. I like the colors. So look out for the color and materials when you're applying it to your model. This is interesting. It looks like laser beams coming from space. Notice how they're glowing. So that effect, good luck with that one. No, it's not hard. But those don't forget it. This one is, it's kind of like a night shot, and that is the thing that highlights it. So okay.
Yes, sir. That's what I was going for, sir.
All right, cool. And your section, your exploded view here is fine. And Brittany, okay, Brittany, I've seen this plan already 2 times, so it will be interesting to see how each of you create that plan with the different software. I love this section. I think your lecturers would like, because it's very clear. So I'm looking forward to see how you achieve that. However, I'm not seeing where your communication objective is, Brittany. Because remember, if you look on the handout, I believe you're to highlight something like lighting or wind. and so forth. So our vertical circulation. So this is not showing the objective. So you need to fix that one. Hold on. You hearing me, Brittany?
Yes, sir.
This one is this is not really highlighting a building in a dense context. I mean, I can see the thing in the distance, but it doesn't have enough context around it for me to say this is highlighting it. So it's a little bit edging to disqualifying, and this one either, because this is not really showing the this context is mainly empty. So I don't know. Maybe this is like both of these are like very close, but they're edging more, and it's not showing enough contrasting context for you to say this building is being highlighted. You know what I mean? It's almost doing it, but not quite. All right. These are fine. So see if we can find an image that will show it there. All right. So I do believe that is everybody. So everybody who has a tick, you can go ahead and upload your pictures, and that will confirm you for the image you're going to mimic. And that is going to do it for our class today.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, I came a little bit late, so I'll upload them by the end of the day.
All right, cool. So I'm going to take one more look at this mirror board, like maybe like between well, it's late now, so maybe like tomorrow, right?
Okay, sir, no problem.
All right, cool. All right, so guys, that is pretty much the end of our class today. There are some things that we didn't really touch on, a complex workflow. I will look on this another day. I will tell you about this, very interesting. And we'll talk about this another day here.
Oh, sir, I'd sent you a direct message. I'm not sure if you responded.
Oh, sorry. Oh, not in the meeting chat or? All right. Oh, send it to, are you a part of the chat group? The Zoom chat group?
Oh, yeah, I believe I joined that today.
All right, good. So I want you to post this in the Zoom chat room group, not in the meeting chat.
Okay.
All right. And I'll advise you on it. All right, guys. So that is it. Hope you guys enjoyed the class, and I hope you learned some stuff. And we come back next week to learn more awesome stuff. We're going to do some demonstrations next week and look at some tutorials. Let me appeal to you again, guys. Look at the tutorials that I have curated. Sorry, look at the channels that I have curated for you. They have some really good stuff. I want everybody to identify tutorials that assist them, right? And next class, we're going to look on some tutorials that I have made for this module as well to guide you through. And yep, it's now a countdown to the presentation. Please, you must start it. You remember you're presenting 4 diagrams, right? So don't wait till the last week for you to do 4 diagrams. It doesn't work, right? You need, like, by today, my timeline for you guys is by the end of the class today, you should have identified the type of software and the tutorials that will support your visualization, right? So during the week, whenever you get some time, you're going to work on it a little bit, right? I suggest you work on the floor plan and section first, and then you tackle the 3D and the the X-ray after, because I'm going to show you some tips for the 3D and the X-ray next week. But you have enough to start working on your floor plans. And a lot of those, there are so many of those channels that I gave you. They have great tutorials on doing the floor plans. So I want you guys to start working on your floor plans and your section. All right. And then next week when you come back, we shall talk more about advanced visualization. All right, guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
All
sir. No
right.
problem.
All right. Have a good rest of the week. And I shall see you next time.